Hey, hi, and hello. I'm Troy the Art Boy, and today I'm going to be designing yet another unconfirmed experiment from Lilo and Stitch, this series. At the end of Leroy and Stitch the movie, during the credits, there were a list of names that were released. One name for every experiment, both confirmed and not. And I diverted that list. And by using it, I work with a friend of mine over on Instagram. Their account's name is Lilo's Library to come up with faces for all of those names. I come up with the functions too, along with their help, but those are kind of up to us. There isn't really a strict guideline. However, we refer back to this general rule, which is that every 100 experiments have a different category that they fall into. I'm going to put those up on the screen for you guys now. So this one is one of the first 100 experiments, which makes them A, household helpers. Essentially, they were designed to make Jumbo's life easier, even though that isn't necessarily how they all actually turned out. So let's just get into this, okay? So today's cousin is number 038, Platts. I really love this little fella, but I will say, as much as I love and appreciate everything Lilo and Stitch related, some of the names they've given to unconfirmed experiments are, let's just say, far from my favorite, and it really makes it hard to come up with designs. Platts reminds me of Splort from a couple videos ago. To me, it just sounds like an onomatopoeia, but apparently Platts is actually a word relating to like mapping an area of land or maybe hair that has been twisted. I don't know. I've never heard it for either of those two categories, but a lot of people assumed that plaits would be hair related over on Instagram, so I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to be going with the onomatopoeia route because I think that's more fun. I don't want to give the function away just yet, but I will say that I wanted them to be small, very small, like small enough to fit in the palm of Lilo's hand, small. While drawing experiments or anything really, it's important to have clear design inspirations from beginning to end. Now, you don't necessarily need to live by references, which is to say, feel free to change things up and kind of go with the flow, but knowing what you're trying to draw and how you're trying to draw it, it just, in my experience at least, it usually helps. Throughout this project, I tend to look at the real world for these inspirations. Specifically, I look at animals. I find that it helps me visualize the end product from a pretty early stage, which, as I already stated, helps me to sort of bring it to life. For instance, I based Plushie Experiment 027 off a Dutch rabbit. I know what rabbits look like, so designing Plushie was honestly pretty straightforward, which isn't to say that I base all or even most of my experiments off of animals. There are experiments like 005 trucks who instead I based off of a pickup truck, or experiment 016 malt who I based off of kind of an old-timey ice cream making guy. So you can find inspirations anywhere, but if you want to do something more animalistic, to me it makes sense in might be cheating, but to me, it's just pretty straightforward using an animal reference. And with that being said, I based today's experiment off of a frog, specifically a Pac-Man frog, and specifically my old friend's pet Pac-Man frog. So I've been having a lot of story times throughout my videos as of late, and I have more coming up, and it's just so fun. I enjoy being able to share a little bit about my life with you guys, and hope you guys enjoy it too. But for those who might not care as much, please just bear with me. Okay, so I lived in Florida for about a year. I moved there right before COVID hit, so that sucked. But one of the highlights of my time in Florida was meeting one of my probably my best friend at the time, and still someone who I'm definitely still friends with, but not super close with. Her name is Cassie. I remember when she first adopted her little packing frog, he he despised, he loathed moving from his little spot. So when it came to feeding time, Cassie used the set of tweezers to feed him mealworms and crickets by hand. This guy was pretty tiny when she first got him. They can get pretty big, but he was a baby. But he was impossibly lazy. And if I'm being honest, I completely respected him for it. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a full grown Pac-Man frog before, but if you haven't, give a quick Google. It's totally worth it. So much fun. They're such just fascinating animals. And then if you do that, maybe check out a YouTube video of them eating mealworms or crickets or something. It's endlessly entertaining. Anyways, I wanted Platts to wield that same level of laziness. I gave him thin, mostly closed eyes because our boy here is always ready for a nap. I also lined the body with bumps. I got this idea from real world toads, and more importantly, if I'm being honest, after my sometimes favorite Pokemon, Venusaur. For the pose here, I just know that Platts would be sitting down or laying down pretty much all the time. So I had him sitting down here. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing a couple action poses of Platts where he will be, of course, laying down. Okay, so finally, let's talk about their function. I'm pretty proud of this one. He's a living paperweight. Usually, I come up with the function along with my partner, Lilo Zybre, but for this little guy, it wasn't the case. Every now and again, we have sort of our favorites in terms of design, or maybe our favorites in terms of function, and the other one just sort of takes a back seat or kind of rolls with it because, I mean, it works, and we don't really need to add input if it's already something that we can get on board with, if that makes sense. It's a real collaborative effort, which I've said before, but I mean, just to reiterate, I'm just so fortunate and lucky to have someone in my life like this who has been just so easy to work with. I just had clear images in my head of what they were going to look like, both including their main standalone image as well as action poses, if you can really call them that for him. So, okay. So, once I drew the main standalone image and started thinking about their action images, I came up with the poses with him just sleeping, him laying down, usually on sheets of paper. His laziness limited the potential functions quite a bit, so I knew he had to be something that was sort of more um stationary, I guess, which brings me to paper. And yeah, living paperweight just sort of happened. Although I will say, I'm going to give all the credit in the world to Leo Cyber because they came up with a way to make it more sciency. So if you guys are interested in that, go check them out over on Instagram at Lilo's Library. They have a much more in-depth breakdowns of their functions and why they were created to do certain things and the story within the episode of why certain characters did certain things. It's just so much fun. So if you guys care at all, go check them out. For here, one last thing to talk about before I show you guys the final product. I mentioned him being small, but that wasn't always going to be the case. Initially, he was smaller than Stitch, but not by much. But after deciding the function, I knew it needed to be reworked. I can't imagine a little 2.5 foot frog creature just sitting on a sheet of paper on your desk. That didn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I scrapped that. And I'm also going to show you guys Platts, but in a different color. So initially I was kind of set on doing warmer tones, so like some oranges, some reds, some yellows potentially. But it just didn't work. I was trying so hard not to lean too much into the frog territory by making them either green or brown, but I kind of just gave in. I was like, this works. This makes sense to me, my brain. So that's what I did. And yeah, hope you guys like it. Here he is. Platts would debut in the episode called Heavyweight Helper, where he would be activated after his pod falls from a leaf and into a nearby stream. The episode synopsis would be as follows. After a heavy rainstorm, a tiny tardigrade-like experiment causes chaos by plopping down in cool, shaded spots and becoming completely immovable. He then sneaks into Lilo's house, trapping her important school project under his dense body. Meanwhile, a local office is in disarray from the storm-scattered paperwork all around the building. Ingantu attempts to capture Stitch's cousin, but only worsens the chaos when the experiment disables his ship. Lilo and Stitch create a trap to lure the cousin and find him a one true place where he belongs. And that one true place ends up being as a paperweight for that local business down in Kokai Town. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so this is the part of the video where I like to shout out other fan artists to maybe hopefully elevate their work a little bit and kind of get the word out there, because this community is just so small, and quite honestly, these other artists just deserve it. And today's artist is going to be Sketch Lampoon again. If you watch my other videos, I shout him out pretty much every single time for good reason. Basically, he used to work with the person I'm currently working with to the exact same project I'm currently doing, except they never finished. He's given me permission to use his designs either in part or in full, as long as I credit him, which I didn't use his design here at all, but I'm still going to credit him because even when I do credit him in the videos where I get inspiration from him, quite frankly, it's never going to be enough. I'm just a really big fan of giving credit where it's due, and he just deserves so much of it. So I'm going to put up his design for Experiment 038 Plats right now. So it's obviously so cute. They went in a completely different route than me. And I'm looking at the little tendril on top of her head, and I'm thinking this is why people assumed the function of my version of Platts was going to be the same as theirs, because this is clearly some hair themed something, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, super cute. 12 out of 10. If you guys enjoyed this video, or I guess honestly, even if you didn't, be sure to like and subscribe. Every like and follow, it really does help a lot. And my channel is still pretty small, but I also just want to take a second to, I guess, say thank you to people who have followed. This started as just like a fun little project I was doing with a now friend of mine, to then deciding to actually post stuff, to then making a YouTube channel and spending hours and hours learning how to edit videos and finding the software necessary to do that, and then recording. It's a whole thing. And yeah, I just appreciate everyone who has the, 10 minutes to watch what I'm putting out. I think it's pretty cool. If you guys want to see more of my artwork, you guys can follow me over on Instagram at Troy the Art Boy. You guys can also follow Lilo's Library over on Instagram at Lilo's Library over on Instagram. I also have a Patreon if you guys want to support me over there as well. It's also at Troy the Art Boy. And yeah, I have an Etsy too, so you guys can find that as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and you will see me in the next one. Bye.